Now let's start off with oxidation reaction. Now, as the name suggests, oxidation is nothing but addition of oxygen to a compound. Let's take an example of copper which has oxygen added to it. The product that you get is copper oxide. Now the most eminent reactions where you have oxidation is where you burn things. A good example would be that of coal. You burn coal and it's always in the presence of oxygen, so you have carbon plus oxygen which gives you CO2. Another example would be wherein you're burning natural gas which is used in your automobiles. You have methane plus oxygen which gives CO2 plus H2O. Now, you have oxidation. There is an opposite of oxidation too, and that is reduction. Now, we have formed copper oxide by adding oxygen to copper. But what if I want my copper back? What do I do then? In this process, you pass hydrogen gas over copper oxide, and this process would be called as reduction. In this, you have oxygen which is removed, and you have H2O which is formed, plus you have copper in its pure state back. Now, there is another reaction which involves both oxidation and reduction simultaneously. This reaction is called as redox reaction. The redox reaction is something that you can find everywhere. The photosynthesis of plants is redox reaction. The copper oxide, which forms copper again when you pass hydrogen over it, is also a redox reaction, as you have copper which has lost oxygen and hence reduced, and hydrogen which has gained oxygen and hence oxidized. This is a redox reaction. You also have a digestion of food which is redox reaction. You have a breathing process which is also a redox reaction. Now for oxidation, you can consider the reaction wherein you have H2S gas which reacts with chlorine gas to form HCl, which is hydrochloric acid, and sulfur. Now if you look at the reaction closely, you would understand that sulfur on the product side has lost hydrogen. Now when you have a loss of hydrogen or gain of oxygen, you have an oxidation reaction which has happened, and it is the same thing that has happened in this reaction. Another example is where you have hydrochloric acid which when heated decomposes into H2 and Cl2. Now when you have the loss of hydrogen, it is an oxidation reaction, and this is what exactly has happened with chlorine. Now for reduction reaction, the formation of hydrochloric acid is a good example. Now when you look at the reaction, when you have a diatomic molecule of hydrogen which reacts with the diatomic molecule of chlorine, it forms 2HCl. And in this reaction, if you see, chlorine has gained an hydrogen atom. And whenever you have the gain of a hydrogen atom or the loss of an oxygen atom, you have reduction which has gone about. And this is the same thing which has happened in this reaction. Now redox reaction is where you have oxidation and reduction both happening together. Let's consider the reaction of lead oxide with carbon. And when you're reacting them, what you have is lead and carbon monoxide which is produced. Now look at this reaction closely. You would understand that lead has lost an oxygen atom, and hence you can say it has undergone reduction reaction. At the same time, you have carbon which has gained an oxygen, and hence it has oxidized, or an oxidation reaction has happened into it. And therefore, this is a good example for the redox reaction.